Have any update on plans for Finch and his guys?
We're not going to serve him up. He's ready to return to action. He went through practice, went through video. He's moving around pretty good, and we'll see whatever he's comfortable with. It's kind of uncharted waters.
How encouraging is it, though, the fact that, under the knife yesterday and out here today?
Yeah, I mean, Finch is obviously our leader and a super tough guy. And, a ton of respect for him bouncing back so quickly. I was chomping at the bit. I was really excited about the series. It was great to have him back in the gym.
Tim, you see this coaching staff work all year. Like, if he is limited in any way, like, just what have you noticed on the chemistry of the group that they can make things work?
Yeah, we have a fantastic coaching staff. Mike is going to make a great head coach when some smart team hires him. The whole staff is really connected, and I think Finch powers those guys. So it's a collective. It's not just about one person. Just like players, we have next man up. Same with coaches. We have complete faith in our staff. And obviously, fingers crossed, Finch will be somewhere around the chair he's usually going to be. But Mike's going to do a heck of a job, and again, he's going to be a great head coach when somebody hires him.
What makes you think that you worked with him for a long time? What do you like most about him, and what do you think qualities he has?
He's got a really high emotional IQ. He's got humility, a natural connection with players, and he's just seen it all. I think you look at Mike's career, you grind forever as an advanced scout. It's one of the more difficult jobs in the NBA. You certainly know every play imaginable, so you combine all those things. I'm certain he's going to be a great head coach.
Are you certain that Chris will make the trip?
I don't want to speak for Chris, but we feel pretty good about it.
When you think about how you put together that Denver team and this team, it was kind of in multiple steps. Drew Aaron in a little bit later, Mike Connelly and Nikhil here. How much did you have that vision laid out years in advance that it was going to be a patience?
No. I mean, I could tell you we have these 1, 3, and 5 year plans that be alive. I mean, the NBA, there's fluidity and there's things that you didn't expect to happen. I mean, if you look at Denver, we try to retain some guys we didn't keep, and that led us. We got very fortunate with Aaron. It's every day, especially around the draft, around the trade deadline and free agency, things change dramatically. So, we're lucky, really lucky here to have these unbelievably talented core pieces and try to build around them and support them. But to say that we had some well-laid plans was disingenuous.
There's always so much focus on who's hired as a head coach and who the core pieces on the court are, but obviously you guys have shown them how important this deep bench team staff. How much appreciation for those lesser roles as they made that one for you?
I mean, a lot. I was fortunate enough to kind of have a lot of different jobs when I started forever ago, and I think it's really important. We're trying to preach team and we. I think too often, certain levels there's I. So any success is we success, any failure is we failure. So if you're trying to get these guys to accept role acceptance and really the power of we, you don't project that. It's not really optimal leadership. So win together, lose together.
Ant's getting a lot of attention since the play started on a national level. How do you think he's just kind of kicked that?
Yeah, I think Ant is really just concerned about his teammates, his family, his friends, and competition. Whether it's competition on the basketball court, whether it's spades, whether it's ping pong. Some guys, and there's not a right or wrong approach. Some guys are really about the ancillary things, the brand. I think Ant's about the competition. So he's got a great support system. He's got wonderful people around him. He's allowed himself to be coached hard, which is really a testament to both Ant and Coach Finch. So I think for Ant, he's just focused on game one, and the other stuff is just noise.
Tim, is this series coming up here kind of a referendum for this group in a way when it comes to some of the financial decisions you might have to make next year and where you go with ownership? Or have you seen enough that this team is a contender maybe next year and you want to push to keep it together as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, if they were a contender now, we have to believe it. We're entering the second round with an unblemished playoff record, so this room certainly thinks we're a contender. Relative to what the offseason looks like, it would be unfair to answer those questions prior to our conclusion, and we hope not to conclude for a long time.
What was last year's Denver series like?
It was cool. I mean, they're all some of my best friends or coaches, front office players, and while I'm competitive, I'm not stepping your throat competitive. Quite frankly, if we're going to go down, you go down against good buddies and people you have a ton of respect for. It's fun to see a lot of friends beyond, the team. So I love Denver, love the city. 2 kids were raised there, like a second home. So it was a lot of fun, and I think it's neat. There's obviously not just myself, but Finchie and Mike and Monte, and we have some support staff guys that came over. So it's kind of neat to see all these familiar faces and compete. And whatever happens, I think either side's going to be happy for whoever proves victorious.
At the end of last year, Tim, people talked about maturity that need to be better, and so it has been this year. But Mike talked yesterday about how discipline is required for 48 to beat Denver. So it's going to be a good test exactly how far this team is coming down.
Yeah, Denver's the best team in the world. Defending champs, best player in the world. I think the best two-man unit in the world. Their ability to close, the familiarity with Jamal and Nicole, and certainly Michael Malone is impressive. So this is, if we want to progress, you should want to play the best teams. You have a competitive spirit. We're playing the best team in the league and the defending champs. So it'll be a great test for us just to see how we can have motion control, which I thought was excellent in the first series, and game plan discipline. It's not about playing perfect basketball. There's plenty of things we can do better. We can execute better, but those things are controllable. And for us to kind of get where we want to go, we have to control those things at an elite level.
Tim, you guys have a lot of guys that worked in Denver. They have a lot of guys that worked in Minnesota previously, and division opponents. What's the familiarity add to another, playoff matchup between you guys?
I mean, I think it's kind of a real testament to our division. Oklahoma City, we sweep. Obviously, Denver advanced. It's funny how many games at the end of the year we didn't know how it was going to impact this whole thing. So, like the San Antonio victory that had the impact on what the second round looks like, as an example. But yeah, I think it's you're trying to rip your head off for 48 minutes, and then whoever wins or loses, you try to stay clear for half an hour, then you're back to being friends. I mean, last year I had a ton of buddies over to the house in between games 3 and 4, so I think it makes it more fun. I know there's tremendous mutual respect for both organizations. Michael Malone's a dear friend, a great coach. Calvin's super, super smart, a very close friend. I talk to a bunch of the players quite often about non-basketball topics. So it's neat. I think it's neat. I think it'll add a little additional competitive spice to it. But I know both teams really respect the entire ability, which I think is well deserved.
Tim, what's your level of satisfaction, even going back to last summer, the media day? Hey, this organization hasn't been to the second round forever. That's our first goal. Let's be a top 4 seed. Let's win a round. Now it's come to fruition. What's your level of satisfaction?
Yeah, I mean, it's we haven't accomplished all the goals, but certainly we set these goals we thought were reachable. We thought we could have been home court playoff team previous season if we performed better against teams that were struggling. We think to be a viable contender, you got to be a home court playoff team, and we've achieved that. And certainly, Phoenix is a really, really good team. And I felt like too often it's what the losing team didn't do well. I thought we played well. I thought it was not an easy series. I mean, game 4, those 2 first battle Hall of Famers playing at that level. So to continue to challenge yourself. Again, our goal is not to be a first round and out team. We've had a heck of a regular season. We were in the first place for much of the season. Our division was brutal with Oklahoma City and Denver. See, those guys are already in the second round. So, but you got to believe. We have to believe that we can make a real run. We set these initial goals, but really, this room thinks we can win the championship. So, why not us?
What do you think about Carl in these playoffs? Defensively, taking on a big role, guarding KD, he's probably going to get a lot of good pressure. That's not the player we saw him be previously. How have you kind of seen him embrace the defensive side within the playoffs?
I thought Carl was awesome. I almost got emotional when he came off the court because he's been through so much. He's had countless people in different chairs, and hasn't seen a lot of success. And I think criticism at times is unfair and way too loud to what Carl's accomplished. And he's just as you guys know, he's a wonderful guy. So for him to kind of find it, feel like what it wins in the postseason really matters. And we won largely because of Carl's maturity. He played a super clean game on both ends. He was really aware of the game plan, and I thought his ability to guard and certainly his ability offensively, what it is, but to pick his spots without him, so we're not sitting here right now.
Tim, a year ago, you do this group of our time together. What is sort of the season validating about it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's validation. Again, it's just hypothesis, right? I'm just guessing. You never know. You make a trade, you sign somebody, draft somebody, you hope it works. So I don't know. Validation would probably give our group too much credit, but we felt pretty convicted that it had the cultural DNA to be a good team. We thought we had the talent. We knew we had an elite coaching staff. Could we grow up a little bit around the edges? Could we not expose ourselves to so many self-faults and unforced errors? And I think we've done that for the most part all season. And I thought in the first round, it was really neat to see how connected we stayed, regardless of the moment or regardless of the whistle. It's been a real focus of just control we can control.
We'll do two more.
Will Chris travel with the team?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's up to Chris. I'm not his active position, but he feels great right now, so we're not really sure.
Last question.
Do you anticipate the emotions for you being a little different this time versus last year, and that I think you have a much better chance at winning this time around?
Yeah, I mean, I thought once the ball goes up, I always think we have a chance to win. So
Just like pre-series last year, you were like, oh boy, you can get it.
well, we were kind of hobbling into the postseason last year with injuries, and we lost Kyle. What was that, game 4, game 5? Look, I think we had a much better regular season. I think that Denver is an unbelievably great organization. I think the success they've had and the sustained success they've had is not by accident. It's got great leadership. But again, once the ball goes up, we're a pretty competitive group, and it'll be fun to see how we stack up against them. But I'm pretty calm. I'll be more emotional post-game beers than during the game.